And we're moving into our digital circle session, and I'm joined today by Davey Damon. David, happy to see you again. And we're also joined by Rashan Gunaratne. How are you, Rashan?
Doing good. Thanks, Eric.
Excellent. Rashan is joining us from Mitra Innovations, and Davey Damon is with our partner WebRix. So it should be a lively conversation today, guys, on the challenges, with the manufacturing industry today and how we can overcome those with no code.
Exactly.
Excellent. Yep. All right. Well, why don't we just jump right into it and start to talk about those challenges? We know that, we've experienced a lot of disruption, over the last year and a half or even up to 2 years. And we know that is, probably going to continue as we move into the future. What do you guys see as the biggest challenges that manufacturers and distributors are experiencing today? And then maybe we can start to talk about some of the trends that we see affecting them going into the future. So I don't know who wants to start. I'll throw it up there like a jump ball, and whoever wants to grab it, go right ahead.
Sure. Yes. Thank you. I think in the first place, as you said, COVID-related issues such as new procedures and protocols on the manufacturing shop floor will have a big effect. We see that getting people onto the floor for their shift these days will take several layers of complexity with temperature checks and spacing for workers for safety, etc. It also means that products have to be kept safe, especially those in the food industry. Right? And all these new measures slow down production lines and aid into the efficiency and productivity. So it's an ongoing issue for a lot of manufacturers. And secondly, the automation. Automation already prevails prevalent in the manufacturing industry. But we see that during COVID, artificial intelligence took a new importance priority. Because if you have robots on the production line, you don't need to worry about social distancing and temperature check and the absence because of illness. Work slowdowns and the whole host of other COVID-borne challenges will fix themselves with automation. And this trend obviously won't go away for, probably a few years. We don't know how long this is still going to take, but those are a few of the challenges. And I think if you look at things like working from home, right? I think a lot of you guys, and I haven't been in the office for 2 years, so a lot of people are working at home. And obviously employees on the production line are not able to work at home, but the people in support position and the office can. And I think nowadays everybody's comfortable with Zoom, Teams, and other online meeting software. So those are a few challenges. Also think about supply chains, right? We saw the disruption from supply chains in China during the pandemic. Manufacturers needed to find other sources of materials and products. And where can we get our sources from when the borders close again? I think
so that's a good sorry, Davey, that's a really good point, because I wanted to touch upon that initial thing that you stated, because actually when this pandemic started, I think everyone sort of hit a blank wall because they did not know or have the processes on how to vet the individuals, to check for vaccinations, temperature checks, etc., because they just did not have this ability or the agility to move with this new system, right? I mean, a lot of companies went ahead and tried to build their own personalized bespoke applications, which by the time they actually came out, it was no longer needed. So, which is one of the key addressing points that we are trying to talk about on this low-code approach, right? Because everyone who actually had this platform was able to immediately incorporate this into part of their actual day-to-day work process. So, including the temperature checks, because that can be an IoT device that you can actually capture it, bring it into this platform. And so right then and there, you can enable, disable their entry points, check their access levels. And, it's about how quickly you can adapt to black swan events, like, pandemics, unplanned events. No one plans for a pandemic. I don't think anyone in the world did, nor will anyone. So it's purely about how quickly you can adapt to the changing environment. And so that created a completely new ecosystem from the consumer's point of view as well, because then suddenly online sales went up, and all the retail channels that were traditional, the brick and mortar models, just completely went out the window because they just did not have the ability to change. But this does not mean that that is the only way, right? So because there is a lot of companies that succeeded, blossomed, I would say, like really boomed during this time, simply because they were not siloed, they were not structured, they were not fixed by vendor lock-in or application level locking in, etc. So they were able to really quickly adapt their marketing strategies, how they approach, and especially their business processes, how quickly you can change them. So the traditional sense of doing things is like you spend like 3 months, 6 months trying to design, understand what the application is, and then you spend another 6 months building it, and probably another 6 months evaluating it. So from the time of inception to the time of production, you're talking about maybe 2 years, by which time it's probably not even relevant, right? But with the low-code approach, it's absolutely amazing. I mean, we were talking about this, right, Davey, in the breakout as well. It's just mind-boggling because I've been in this industry for close to 20 years, and the velocity of how quickly we actually build solutions from thought, from imagining something to actually going into production is literally weeks. When you look at these project plans, I mean, sometimes even the clients ask us, is this right? Have you got is this in months or is it weeks? No, this is definitely weeks. Yeah. Because it's how quickly we adapt to these things, right? I mean, that's the key enabler in the current environment, how quickly you adapt. And that is what's going to be the differentiator between those who are left behind and the ones who are going to lead from the front.
That's right. Yeah, I would agree with both of those statements. I even look at it, taking it a step further. And one of the trends that we see here at Creatio is that within manufacturing and distribution, there's also a growing skills gap as well, right? Like, so you've got an older community retiring. You've got a younger community that isn't necessarily pushing towards those manufacturing jobs right now, and there's the skill gap, right? There's going to be more positions within manufacturing and distribution than there are people to fill those roles. So it's going to be key to be able to automate processes, be able to streamline workflows within that industry, because you got to find ways to become more efficient in your operations. You have to be able to, think of that skills gap as well. So I think that that's a big trend that we have to monitor, and we have to, help figure out ways to streamline that and make it more efficient as well.
Yeah, and not only via software, but also obviously robots, right? So actually sometimes call them cobots, your co-workers. Yeah, in the new age.
Yeah. Perfect.
So I mean, I guess cobots kind of builds into the whole Creatio aspect as well, because it inculcates a citizen developer, because we are not talking about specialized software developers, etc. These like actual business users who knows the business, and now you can actually just dynamically configure these things, which is the same concept behind the cobots, which is the person who's at the front line, who's on the line himself, can say, you know what, we need to make these metric changes, because at the end of the day, analysis can be done, specialists, everyone else can say something else, but it's the person on the ground, the boots on the ground. They're the ones who actually know what's actually happening at the ground level. So they can make those changes, right? So I mean, that's the same thing that kind of translates into when you're managing your workflows, your business processes, etc. Nobody knows the process better than the person who actually does it, right? Yeah. And to enable them to implement this and take this to market, where you're actually going to retrieve the business value, I mean, this is something that was the initial gap that was there between, the developer, the designer, the implementer, the production, etc., and the user. So that entire thing can be sort of cohesed and brought into a singular platform, a singular landscape where it's visible to everybody. And I think Eric, I think this was brought up, I think, in some other question as well that was mentioned earlier about how to ingest the information that is presently available. Because right now, I think in any production line, all the automotive or all the automated sort of machinery, they sort of generate a lot of analytics. There are MTBFs, there are performance levels, any kind of impending issues, whatnot. But one of the other aspects of it is the fact that although these analytics are created and generated, it's not properly ingested.
Right.
It's there. The information is there. It's just there for us to consume. So using something like the Creatio AI ML model, we can actually start utilizing it and make sort of insights and make business decisions based on those. So you can have like sort of a predictive model, and you're more preemptive, you're not reactive, you're proactive. So before line 1 is possibly going to have an MTBF, in the upcoming 1 month, now you can start setting up your line 2, line 3 to handle that. So you don't wait until line 1 fails to, move that over somewhere else. So now you're predictive, you're preemptive. So you're not in the reactive mode. So these are the kind of value adds. And again, highlighting the point again on this platform is the fact that all of these analytics can be configured by the citizen developer, the user themselves. So they will know what to get, right? So they're not vendor locked in. And that's the beauty of it. So they don't have to go to, 3 different companies to find out how are we going to get this? Can we analyze this graph? What is the analytic? What is your predictive model? It's just they can themselves just move things around and just build it out how they'll get the business insights.
Exactly. Great point, Rashan. And it's usually not a lack of data, right? It's how do you make that data actionable?
Exactly.
And what we can bring in. I tell you what, guys, let's take a quick poll of the audience, and let's put the question out to them. So, audience, what do you consider as the most burning issue facing manufacturing today? You can submit your answers in chat. We have a couple of different options today. So, is it increasing customer expectations, legacy software and tech stack, finding quality manufacturers, lack of automation, or global competition? So all good, good challenges that we see, and we'll have to give the audience a chance to kind of go through that poll, and we'll see what they're considering as their biggest challenges. So as we look forward, right? We understand the challenges. We understand that no code can help that. What do you think are going to be the key drivers, for workflow automation? If I'm looking at it from my perspective, you look at things like, supply chain, inventory management. Inventory management can really have an impact on your profits, right? It could have too little, that's going to have an impact on your profit. You have too much, that's also going to have an impact. It can also affect the relationships that you have with your distributors, your customers. So being able to automate that process, in my mind, is a key driver. What are your guys' thoughts? What do you think are going to be those key drivers for workflow automation?
I would say, first of all, the same thing as always, right? Money. So saving money is critical for any business. I think especially in this time, saving money where you can. And I think with the right workflow automation, companies simply become more productive, and they're able to scale up operations or better serve existing customers, which is very important. And also the ability to weave multiple applications together in a streamlined workflow often enables companies to just bypass legacy solutions, which are often still there, and help companies simplify their tech portfolios. In fact, application portfolios costs have been reduced as much by 50%, when automated workflows are put in place. And obviously, like Creatio, a low-code visual design tool like Creatio can help organizations to create those custom applications in a simple, intuitive fashion, and therefore allowing businesses to quickly create the apps they need without spending an excessive amount of money, time on an off-shelf solution. You know? So also according to Forrester, development costs can be cut in half by using low-code workflow automation tool. But also saving time, simplified improvement communications, automation across the whole board. So
yeah,
money.
great point, Davey.
Yeah.
Very right, very right on that one, Davey. Actually, I was gonna add on top of that. I think I have touched upon this earlier as well. It's like how, I mean, as you mentioned, how you can build out these, you know, making automation, robotic, etc., and then all the value. Now, a lot of the systems presently available in the market, legacy systems that have been like sort of, you know, ingrained and, you know, trenched in, etc., already have some of these things. Now, the only instance is how do you elevate that? How do you actually make it deliver value? So that is where something like Creatio can come in as the icing on the cake. You know, it's a layer that you build on top. So you can have all these subsystems that are legacy that you can't move because some of these systems are so entrenched in the, you know, manufacturing processes, geared into the production lines, etc. Now you can layer this on top, and you can use this as the eye candy. You know, it can be the eye candy. You can actually start ingesting all this information and then seeing the larger picture, where in the earlier stages, you want to see your production line, you go into this box. You want to see your inventory, this box. Sales pipeline, other box.
Yeah.
This is the icing on the cake. You know, this is where we bring everything together, and that's why we call it eye candy. You just have a beautiful picture and you see, hey, you know what? Not the kind of cake I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So, you know, and you can immediately identify certain issues, certain points that you might want to improve on. And, you know, it's only when you have that 360. I know the word 360 is used very loosely these days, but 360 should mean the view that gives you business insight. That you can have tangible value derived from. Just because you have 100 different graphs doesn't mean it has any business value, you know, unless you can actually derive something out of it, right? So this is kind of that view that we talk about, and the agility and how quickly you can actually retrieve that without actually, you know, going to some specific vendor, etc. I mean, you can kind of what Excel did with the pivot charts, right? So, you know, you're able to make the graph that you want so that you get the information you require. And this is the digital enabler that helps you to move forward on this, especially times like this.
Yeah, absolutely. And you bring up a great point, Rashawn, is that, you know, it is like Excel with the pivot tables. And that's the nice thing about no code as well, right? If you were one of those gurus that could manage an Excel spreadsheet with pivot tables, you can build on a no-code platform easily, right? That's like all the training you need to develop.
Seriously, it is. It's a minimal training, right? I mean, it just literally takes a few weeks, and suddenly you are like a master of Creatio, and you're a master of business.
Right, that's right. Yeah,
I have to confess, guys, I don't know how to create a pivot table in Excel, but I can build you any dashboard in Creatio you want. Yeah.
You're a forward thinker, Davey, right?
Creatio dashboards, no problem. Excel, who needs it?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I totally agree with Rashawn. You know, we see that a lot of times people don't want to get rid of legacy systems or cannot, and then he calls it eye candy. We usually say make sure that user gets a cockpit where he or she can see all the information you need on a personal level.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Great. Well, I know we're coming up on time here. I'm getting the 3-minute warning here, guys. So the last thing I kind of wanted to touch upon is, you know, so when we look at, you know, we've identified challenges, we've identified how to make them better. You know, how do you feel no code is going to help manufacturers and distributors get ahead? So, you know, how can they leverage no code to innovate within their markets, right? So I look at it that way. We got started, we made it better, and now how do we leverage no code to get ahead of the competition? So this will be our final thoughts here, guys. So what do you think?
I'll just take 30 seconds. I'll just quickly give it and then I'll hand it over to Davey. I know I've been hogging. I know I've been hogging the mic. I'm sorry.
No, that's right. We need more time.
I think the concept of innovation is the fact that you're able to change according to market need, right? You're agile, you're dynamic, so you're able to move forward. What used to be considered a business innovation 5 years ago is no longer what it is today. So your agility is what defines your innovativeness. It's your ability to change. And that is precisely what this kind of platform, this no-code platform does, because as we've been talking about this entire discussion, is that it enables you, the user, to change it as you go along, as your business changes. So you work at the change of your business speed. You don't have to wait for somebody else. You don't work for somebody, implementer schedule, software developer schedule, etc. You work at the speed of business. And that is the key thing that this platform provides. Sorry, Davey, yours.
Perfect. No. I mean, it's like you said, in other words, if you can't bend, you break. It's all about time, money, and efficiency. So the low-code technology lets citizen developers, you call them, the boots on the floor, create the application without waiting for whatever IT, for example. IT departments are generally pretty busy these times, and even a simple application can take days, weeks, months to create.
Absolutely.
And now people can create them by themselves whenever they want and make changes whenever you need. You can have your changes made on a day-to-day basis. And be as agile as you need to survive anything. Yeah, it's perfect.
Excellent. What a way to wrap up this conversation. That's a perfect example, right? That's how we're going to be able to innovate. So, Davey, Rashawn, it has been a pleasure. Like I said, I wish we had more time. We got to think about this for our future sessions. We need more time. Yeah,
certainly we should. Yes.
All right, gentlemen. A pleasure speaking today, and thank you very much for taking the time to meet and share your thoughts with our audience.
Thank you.
Pleasure's mine. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.